Where did you go to school?
And here's your name.
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason morons.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink eye? Is this what pink eye is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
I had to actually Google it, neo-Nazi men.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do it slowly.
Well, I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the nether world of cults, crims, and con artists. And when we say welcome only to our patrons.
Yes.
Who have paid us handsomely for this bonus episode.
Or stole this
and the
from
rest
their
of you
friends.
can get fucked.
Absolutely. Freeloaders.
And I am Jack the Insider, otherwise known as Peter Hoisted for tax purposes.
And I'm Joel Hill, and today we are going to take a look at the anti-vax movement and how it is changing in form and nature and scope.
Yeah, patrons, you may have been aware of a shocking revelation that came about several weeks ago during an inquiry in the European Parliament when a Pfizer executive, Janine Small, conceded that Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccines did not have the development of the vaccine did not have time to test the vaccine for transmissibility.
And this, of course, was latched onto by Conservatives in the European Parliament, which is full of fucking wingnuts, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Totally full of lunatics.
And the sort of right wing that all clung on every word absolutely despise the European Union.
100%. And, like, the thing also, just, as a side note, do you need, 17 votes to get into that place? It just seems like any old fuckwit can just walk up and join.
The more extreme you are, the bigger chance. I mean, we've had people from Golden Dawn, all sorts of fascist organisations around Europe getting up,
Yeah, it's fucking cooked.
It's a funny old show.
So basically anti-vaxxers have been posting this to absolutely no end alongside requests for apologies.
Yeah, I had someone hit me up on Twitter saying, I demand that you apologise.
What's that? What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you're an idiot.
That's a big get fucked from me.
Yeah, exactly. But look, it is all incredibly dishonest by its nature because it's just all completely deceptive. It's just complete spin. But mainstream media, surprisingly, and some commentators, sort of the usual suspects, but sort of veering into some unusual suspects, have actually picked up on this as some sort of shocking revelation. They're saying with a straight face. It's crazy how they're like, no, this is totally legit. And you're like, are you stupid or are you lying? I don't know.
It really is. We'll sort of touch on this a bit later. They're starting to rewrite history that's actually too recent. We're going to go, hang on, that didn't happen.
Yeah, revisionist history is usually decades in the making, maybe hundreds of years.
I know the pandemic screwed with their memories to a degree, but you go, wait a minute, hang on. That didn't happen. Yeah, so, look, it made us think that the anti-vax movement is starting to go mainstream. Their numbers have grown in the pandemic, and with them, the attempt to either corral them into existing political movements or latch onto them as a potential audience by media.
Yeah.
They're also big enough, to draw the attention of a media who are always keen for ratings.
Yeah, well,
and they don't really mind how
role.
they get them.
Yeah,
and we'll get to the nonsense that Pfizer had lied and governments in turn had lied also. We'll get to that shortly. But first, let us ponder how the anti-vax movement is going in Florida under Governor Ron DeSantis.
He's such a piece of shit. In September last year, I feel quite quietly, because I thought I would have noticed this, DeSantis appointed Dr. Joseph Ladapo to be the Sunshine State Surgeon General. Injecting oranges with something. I don't know. They do oranges there, don't they?
It is sometimes called the Orange State, I think.
Yeah. Ladapo has a background in public health and wrote some op-eds for the Wall Street Journal decrying lockdown, so he's got a bit of anti-vax cred there. But he also has a history of advocating for hydroxychloroquine, the old horse paste, sheep drench, and ivermectin for horse paste is hydroxychloroquine. Ivermectin is sheep drench, but of course this is for the treatment of COVID-19 and a successful treatment, of course.
Yeah, and of course all of this stuff has been completely repudiated in clinical studies.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, the Nigerian-born doctor who came to the US at the age of 5 is also opposed to gender-affirming care and counselling for transgender and non-binary minors.
Of course he is.
Another conservative trope from way back. So Ronnie DeSantis is going, here's a man after my own heart.
This guy is great.
This guy. I like this guy.
He'll say this in public with a straight face? Fuck yeah. Most recently, the DARPO has issued a strong recommendation that 18 to 34-year-old men only, should not
women,
receive an
just men.
mRNA vaccine for COVID. Yeah, because chicks are weak. Weak, like, what does the rhyme go? I don't remember. It's so long since I'm in 5. He cited a paper that concluded a heightened risk of heart disease, and in an interview on Fox News, he claimed it raised the rate by 84%, but the scientific paper, if it can even be called that, showed no such result.
In fact, the paper cannot be peer-reviewed because it has no authorship.
Yeah.
You know, the published document was done anonymously.
Bad sign.
It reviews just 20 deaths with cause of death established by death certificate.
Which sounds kind of official and kind of fine, but it's actually a poor man's way of establishing a cause of death. It's a little bit of a sort of offhand sort of thing. For example, like QE2, whose death certificate says she died of old age. I mean, old age isn't a disease.
She died of old age? What?
She didn't die anyway. She was taken by the alien reptile ship and reappropriated to another planet, obviously. But you know, that's what it says on the death certificate. See how wrong it is?
Yeah.
When you get taken away by aliens, they say old age.
Of old age, which is not true. I mean, it's not a disease, and they don't want to admit that she might have had a heart attack or she might have. I mean, it's just one of those.
I wonder if anti-vaxxers think that was a vaccine
formalities.
It would have been a vaccine conspiracy theory, I'm sure. But like, she had a heart attack because of the jab. Because everyone died because of the fucking jab.
The jab and
everyone.
Yeah, death certificates aren't reliable data sources because a doctor might list the cause of death, not just for monarchs, but for regular folk, as a heart attack or heart condition, when a disease like, say, pneumonia might have brought about organ failure, which led to the heart stopping. You know, it's like saying, this man died because his heart stopped.
Yes.
But there are other causes. There are obviously other causes that led to that stopping.
And of course, this guy clutching this bullshit report didn't bother to test the evidence by using, say, like maybe the vast health resources at his disposal within the state of Florida. Maybe get an intern to do something.
He has access to all of the data
so much
in Florida on COVID and before that, you know.
And people to tell it to him in really simple terms. They could write it in crayon. They could tell it to him in a sonnet. Like, it really, like, yeah. It's insane.
We'll post a copy of the report on our Facebook site, and there are a lot of big red lights all over it.
Yeah.
There's just so much that's wrong with it. They ignored, by the way, when they looked at these 20 deaths, they ignored those who had died of COVID, which you would have thought probably should have a look at them.
That makes no sense at all.
Anyway, and look, this has become, this has led to a fair amount of criticism of LADAPO, including within Florida, where the University of South Florida epidemiologist, Dr. Jason Salimi, criticised the state health department's report for not comparing the risks of vaccination to its benefits. That's important. He also noted that department staff could have analysed the man's medical records to see if the cause of death listed there lined up with the death certificates in the state's report.
Yep.
We actually don't know whether these 20-odd deaths were actually recorded in Florida. So that's how little we know about the data.
Yeah.
Anyway, Salimi said, considering the relatively small sample size, around 20, even a modest amount of misclassification of the cause of death could have meaningful implications for the study's findings, he said. Salimi noted that more than 940 COVID deaths among men under 40 were logged during the time frame the health department said it examined, which is between December 15, 2020 to June 1 of 2022. That's an important figure, Joel. 940 deaths of men under 40. And that's kind of what we can expect over the next couple of years, somewhere around that figure. And those people, for the most part, won't be vaccinated. It's not a ban, right? So it's not an outright ban where you just can't get it. How old are you? Sorry. But you would actually have to get it and pay for it yourself. So obviously there's a fair amount of restraint.
So you got to pay for it?
Yeah, you would have to pay for it. It wouldn't be provided.
Because it's not advised. That's interesting. Yeah.
Anyway, Salemi goes on to say, knowing the quality of work that has come from epidemiologists and other scientists at the state's Department of Health, I would have fully expected these other issues to be addressed in their analyses. Were these assessments really not done, or were they for some reason just not provided with what was shared publicly? Good questions, very good questions.
I love that disbelief sort of thing. It's great.
I'm a bit
also,
skeptical.
Like the anti-vaxxer approach to deaths has become so fucking jaded and sociopathic that when you say here that 940 COVID deaths among men under 40 were logged, they'd be like, 940, like in a big country. So, like they're just like that. Because
anyway, just to follow up on that, this came from the Palm Beach Post on October 12 this year.
Okay, yeah. So Ladapo tried defending his advice on Monday. He wrote this on Twitter. Is it really that hard to imagine that mRNA COVID-19 vaccines that increase myocarditis in young men by 10, 20, or 30 times also increase the risk of cardiac death in that age group, which I love because it's like 10, 20, 30. I don't know. It's a bunch.
10, 20, 30. You just imagine it. You just have to imagine it, and it's real.
Yeah. So it goes on to say... The article goes on to say, not him. The analysis he cited did not mention myocarditis, known also as heart inflammation, as people have talked about incessantly over the last while. You're talking about something that's really, really rare, which was quoted by
that's from
someone.
that's from Salemi again. That's a misspelling.
Because it says salmon. I thought I was, who's this? Out of all age and gender groups, boys aged 12 to 17 may be most likely to develop heart inflammation post-vaccine, according to a December study by a team of scientists led by Dr. Anders Husby of Statens Serum Institute in Denmark. I said that without making a mistake.
Well done.
I'm proud. The rate was low, between 1 in 2,500 boys to 1 in 10,000, which is what the researchers found. So, myocarditis in a situation like that, sometimes you don't even fucking notice it.
Yeah, but the other thing is that this so-called report, this so-called study that Ladapo focuses on, it shows no sign of myocarditis.
Yeah.
So there's actually no causation link, but he's still babbling about myocarditis.
It's insane. The guy's a fucking idiot. Yeah, so it goes on to say, the article, federal health officials have also blasted Ladapo's recommendation. This is a quote. The decision is flawed and a far cry from the science. COVID-19 vaccines have been proven safe and effective, and severe adverse reactions are rare, which comes from the US Department of Health and Human Services spokeswoman Sarah Lovenheim. And then goes on to say, vaccines were evaluated in tens of thousands of participants in clinical trials, and since then, tens of millions of Americans, have received COVID-19 vaccines. Just reading it is funny, because you're like, so many people have fucking got it.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Oh, we'll go through some stats on Florida shortly, yeah.
Oof, I bet. So, about 14.6 of Floridian, see, I knew I'd fuck up, men younger than 50 have gotten at least one booster shot, the 17th lowest of all states. And that's, 3 shots, right?
Have gotten at least one booster, so that's fully vaccinated plus one more.
Yeah,
so only 14.6% of Florida's men under 50 have got one booster. That's 14.6%. So
and it goes on to say, about 60% have gotten the initial Moderna and Pfizer vaccines or the one-shot Johnson & Johnson dose.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I imagine one shot's kind of a bit shaky these days.
It is a bit shaky, yeah.
Anymore. That's the clot shot, so no one wants it. Like it's just it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, no good. Ladapo has a history of pushing anti-vaccine views, which is probably why DeSantis put him in the position in the first place. I mean, if you look at it, like why would he be there anyway? And in June, he advised against inoculating children younger than 5, saying the risks outweighed benefits. Florida was the only state to block pediatricians this past summer from pre-ordering COVID shots for children, which infuriated parents statewide.
It did, and we'll get along to political motivations as well. But there is another group of parents who demand that their children should be allowed to go to schools whether they're vaccinated or not. And so this was a dog whistle to them.
Yeah.
The knock-on effects of Ladapo's call is staggering. People will almost certainly die.
Yep.
That would not otherwise have died.
And that's a sacrifice he's willing to make.
Yeah. Some within the 18 to 34 age group, others younger, others older. There may well be a knock-on effect on childhood vaccinations in Florida and elsewhere in the United States.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. And all the while, Florida leads the other 49 states in death due to COVID. That's pretty sad.
So
In the US,
they are running last, and that's they're getting beaten by Mississippi, they're getting beaten by Alabama.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
they've been dicks in the wind, like the whole fucking pandemic. And anti-vax has always been like, Florida did great, fuck you. And it's like, oh, you're all dreaming. It's so simple. Get jabbed, don't die. Don't get jabbed, die. There's a midpoint, but that midpoint's unfortunate and full of old people. Anyway, we'll get into it later.
Yeah, we'll get to that too. But in the US, COVID sits at number 5 on the cause of death list, behind heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, and accidents. Some of them shooting accidents.
With guns, yes.
So,
and look, if you see how they drive, fuck
but
me,
it's a very
car
broad
accidents.
category, isn't it? Accidents. But COVID comes 5th.
I'm pretty sure guns are actually a leading cause of death in children now.
In age group, you'll find that.
Which is fucking cooked. But I must say, one thing we need to have a caveat here and be quite fair to anti-vaxxers is that heart disease is up there, but it didn't exist until the jab. It's a new thing.
Always been the major killer of human beings.
It's just started, but other jabs must have done that because it's definitely jab related. If you had a heart attack, it's the jab.
Yeah. Well, you can go back to the sort of 16th century, and I've looked at the sort of the epidemiology of the day, where you have people dying of cancer and and the fright and things like that.
Right. That's great.
But heart disease and cancer are the two big killers in Australia, really around the world.
Yes.
It's certainly developed world. Alzheimer's is kind of an interesting one to put at 3 there.
Yeah.
And that is, I would think that's a broad sort of
death certificate sort of thing.
Death certificate sort of thing, and accidents. So I follow studious advice: never climb a ladder when you're older than 50.
Yes, and
It's
maybe
really just asking for trouble.
if you're going to go outside, strap yourself with pillows.
I guess the question is and we really need to explore this, why did DeSantis appoint a man who obviously is a maverick, and that's probably the best description we can give on Ladapo. Why did DeSantis do this? Appoint Ladapo to be his Surgeon General, and the answer is ideology. Firstly, first and foremost, as we said, you don't like them trans kiddies? Hey, I like the cut of this man's jib. So there's all of that, and then he sort of understands he's got an election coming. DeSantis has got an election coming in the midterms on November 8. He should win.
Yeah.
And he will win. I mean, I'd be absolutely amazed if he doesn't.
Same.
But he wants to win really, really well in order to press his claims as a presidential candidate in 2024.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I
that's
guess
why he does it. And then so we get to this. We get to these little pockets of people. These little pockets of people who numerically did not matter 5 years ago, anti-vaxxers, numerically did not matter in politics at all. Now they do.
Yeah.
They do. Now they can pick you up, a few thousand votes more and give you that stonking victory that you want. That's really what's going on here. It's actually quite evil. It's the politicization of a vaccine program.
It's crazy. It's the politicization.
It's worse than crazy. It's actually evil.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with that.
And I guarantee you that this Ladapo is going to become an embarrassment to DeSantis, who will drop him like post-election, at some point post-election, because the rest of America will look at him and go, what are you doing with that guy?
Yeah.
Don't think that we're going to vote for you in Massachusetts or in Wisconsin or in Michigan.
Yeah.
While you're carting that guy around who's just babbling in sort of witchcraft.
You just got to hope the electorate has a very short memory.
Yeah. So, I guarantee you, a politician of the ilk of Ronnie DeSantis will go, yeah, that guy's still expendable. Yeah. The only one who's not expendable is me.
Yes, exactly. And Donald J. Trump, of course.
Yeah. So now, Joel.
Go back to Europe.
Well, these shocking revelations in Europe. Shocking they were.
So shocking. So shocking that I'm not like, what?
Look, I've said this in a podcast. I've written this in columns. I thought that the anti-vaccination movement might be in full retreat. with
Yeah.
the pandemic fading into memory. And when COVID-19 vaccines first became available in our summer of 2021, I argued that this was the end game for anti-vaxxers. I said it
totally
many
agree.
times. The science and the data that followed would be irrefutable. And I was right about the data,
Yeah.
but I was wrong to think that this shameless movement would put its cue in the rack.
Too many people relying on it for a living, and
Yeah.
just and relying on it for their ideology, but also their identity. You know, people who are anti-vaxxers are now anti-vaxxers with no family, no other friends, and this is their lives now. All they do is watch Rumble videos.
Yeah,
Fucking
but
sad.
they've grown. The numbers have grown, as we said before.
Yeah, they have.
So now, you know, let me explain it this way. If there's a group of 100 people and one person within them is an anti-vaxxer, then that doesn't matter so much. That one person can be studiously ignored. But if there's 8, then they can't be in electoral terms and even just as an audience, you know.
Yeah.
So, and we know that the movement has grown during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And what was a movement of dangerously stupid weirdos urging new parents not to get their children vaccinated, manipulated by a collective of anti-science grifters who urged them to buy supplements and suckle their children on bone broth, has changed now into a political force.
Yeah, or at least a political bloc. I mean, you know, like...
Yeah, well, it remains an absolute minority, but it's
it gets below the
still
line.
valuable. It's
Yeah.
still valuable in politics. On vaccination levels alone, it'd be around about 5% of the population.
Yeah, but I mean, Alex Antics in the fucking Senate. Is he going to get pre-selected again? I don't know, but if he does, kind of says everything.
The South Australian, nothing would surprise me from the South
He's a
Australian
fucking
Liberal
idiot.
Party. But that still leaves them as a source of political support, that 5%. We saw it recently in our federal election. The now deregistered United Australia Party, Pauline Hanson's One Nation, and Pauline Hanson's One Nation angled for their votes. Single interest parties bobbed up. In the end, it came to almost nothing, with Hanson herself lucky to be re-elected, and UAP being represented by a solitary senator of such little note or political bearing that he appears to be an embarrassment even to those who pre-selected him.
Yeah, I'm not completely convinced that Clive is embarrassed by him because he's stuck with the UAP, and that's more than he can say for basically all of his
He
other
just
guinea
wouldn't
pigs.
want to talk to him, you know.
No, just
Don't
the
look-
real estate agent
yeah.
energy is so
I'm
strong.
busy.
I mean,
Tell him I'm on the toilet.
just tell him. Yeah, no. I'll talk to him
Forever.
later. You know, you've got him in his phone as Ralph. Don't answer.
Suspected spam.
Oh, just so true. He's such a fucking anus.
Yeah,
Just-
look, the nature of anti-vaxxers has changed too. The stereotype of the Byron Bay hippie blabbering about the New World Order and how traffic roundabouts are a method of big government control. That was one of the gurus' most recent.
I actually
shocking
think that was
revelations.
said by a New South Wales senator. Not New South Wales senator.
Really?
A New
Upper
South Wales
house.
Liberal. Upper house, yeah. In the which one is it? Legislative Assembly or Council? It's one.
Well, that makes sense because the guru doesn't come up with too many original ideas.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
he's probably pinched that one. You know, but that is very, very funny. Traffic roundabouts are a method of big government
Here we
control.
go. Yeah, I know this is actually different. New South Wales Liberal MP Peter Phelps.
Oh, that's Phelpsy. He's a
Yeah.
nutter. But
He
he's
said
a
that
likable
roundabouts
nutter.
represent democracy at its finest.
Oh, did he?
So it's
well, that's
totally
why
different.
the gurus jumped all over them. You know, he hates all those plants and things that are growing in those circles inside.
He's such a fucking idiot.
Anyway, so you know the stereotype of guru and the human thumb and those sorts of grifters still hold, but they've been joined by a larger group of disaffected people who don't read enough and
Yes,
listen
or
too
read too
often,
much, to
who
be
do
honest.
their own research, as we saw in the trial of Bruce Lemon.
Yeah. Yeah,
you
that
know,
was shit.
Don't do your own research, folks.
No.
Not if you're on a jury. Jesus Christ. I have no idea why that person wasn't charged. But anyway, what we have now is a larger group addicted to disinformation and counter-narratives, and they vote. They hate the mainstream media almost as much as they abhor politicians, but for all that, they continue to consume, watch television, and
Yep.
buy fast food.
Yep.
That makes them worthy targets of marketing, political or otherwise, even if it is of the niche variety.
Yeah.
And for those who seek to grow their political membership or their audience, so let me just say that it is a fool's errand trying to herd anti-vaxxers into one place. They are by nature capricious. Attempts at serious discussion with them are likely to head off into Kanye West territory at any given time, and we all know where that's where that direction is.
JQ.
And hot takes on vaccine efficacy will be ditched for angry denunciation of tyrant reptiles from beyond the moon.
That's right. And one thing with that niche sort of variety thing, one thing it's an interesting thing and it's a side thing, so I won't stick with it too long. There's a lot of things happening in the US. Clear phones are one of them, but there's a Patriot phone in the US. Peter Thiel, who Daniel Morrison will talk about for days because he's fucking evil, tried to start an anti-woke bank called Glorify, with the FI being sort of enhanced there. That didn't get off the ground. But there's this weird thing where there's
hard.
Parallel industry of anti-woke nonsense where you can just go, okay, if I market this through the appropriate channels of a few certain blowhards in the right-wing media, I can get 5% of this business because these assholes will actually change banks for this. They will actually buy a new phone for this. And they are a market. They might be a niche market. But not only that, but also when it comes to voters. In the US, they've got optional voting. So these will actually vote. So they're the best voters in the world because they turn up. They'll wait the 8 hours that the fucking vote-stopping assholes are put in, and they will wait those 8 hours, and they will get there in the cold. But in a place where voting is also optional, which is the European Parliament, we have old Rob Roos, one of the Dutch members.
So this is the shocking revelation, Joe.
It is. And
he belongs to a party called JA21, which is really, it's not murky, but it is a sort of neoliberal, ultra-conservative, anti-immigration type party.
Far right, but not Nazi.
Headed out that way, definitely. They would call themselves conservatives. We've been through this before. They're not conservatives. They're reactionaries. And they're nationalists.
That's it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So what do you have to say, Joel?
He wrote in a tweet that went fucking ballistic on October the 11th. Breaking. Always opening with breaking.
Breaking, yeah.
I hate
just
that.
awful.
It's an RVM thing.
Anyone who does it, just
fuckwit.
Stop.
Instant fuckwit. In COVID hearing, Pfizer director admits vaccine was never tested on preventing transmission.
What?
Getting vaccinated for others was always a lie.
What?
And the tweet included a video clip showing an exchange between himself and the Pfizer executive Janine Small. And Ruse asked the executive, was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? This annoyed me because I've seen the video a million times. If not, please say it clearly. And he says that so patronizingly. If yes, are you willing to share the data with this committee? Such a cunt. Small answered the question at 15:31:45 into the video. God, that sounds like a tiring video to watch.
Doesn't it?
Saying, no, we had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what was taking place in the market, which is a reasonable thing. I use the word market.
It's kind of a silly thing to say, but she was sort of put on the spot.
Well, they're being
science,
honest.
what?
And that's the thing. Like, they're being
honest. We had
honest.
to really move at speed. I think would have been sufficient, but yeah, she was.
They had to move at the speed of hospitalisation.
She was sort of mocked for using that term,
speed
of science.
Pandemic. I mean, like, they'll mock her for anything. I mean, like, let's face it, it's just ridiculous. So the objective of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine was not to prevent transmission, nor was that a requirement for its initial authorization. And we knew that at the time because Pfizer told us.
Well, here's a quote, Joel, from the US FDA. In January 2021.
Early days. The US Food and Drug Administration issued an emergency use authorization for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. And this is the quote. At this time, data are not available to make a determination about how long the vaccine will provide protection, nor is there evidence that the vaccine prevents transmission of SARS-CoV-2 from person to person. Evidence is the lifting word there. Evidence.
Yeah, evidence.
Is there evidence?
To a clinical level, right?
Exactly.
And we could, and politicians did, and we did make assumptions, but
they're right
because there's science. Which we'll get into that in a moment. But at a scientific level, there wasn't sufficient evidence,
and it costs money to make that evidence.
In January 2021. This is before, by the way, pretty much anyone in Australia had received the Pfizer shot.
No, Scott Morrison was still ignoring calls from Buller, so,
Yeah.
good work there.
What I love about this most of all is it's kind of a paradox, Anti-vaxxers became convinced of something that wasn't clinically proven, only to ignore it anyway.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they were told, this will stop transmission. You will save your grandma. And then they said, well, what? I'm still going to refuse to do it. And now they said, hey, you weren't, but you can't prove you were going to save grandma, and I'm still not taking it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just bizarre,
Yeah. No, this doesn't come up for the selfish intention. When the data came out and everything was basically pointing toward an over 90% reduction, and they chose to believe not even the Orange Man. The Orange Man endorsed the vaccine. The idiots around the Orange Man who were creating this parallel universe underpinned by QAnon and Peter Thiel and the rest, they were listening to them, and they were saying, I would rather fall into this rabbit hole than save grandma. And that's what happened. Grandma died.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, look, first ruse, the conservative, so-called conservative nationalist Dutch politician, then thousands of others shrieked that our governments had lied to us.
Blah, blah,
the
blah,
anti-vaxxers were right. They were right. We really should hold a ticker tape parade for those heroes who valiantly did nothing when their communities called on them for help.
Yes.
Yay, well done, everyone. Thank you for doing nothing, anti-vaxxers.
They were unsure of the situation, so they held back, and we should thank them for watching videos. So, I mean, look, let's get some facts out there. Let's get some.
I spent a fair bit of time over the last week or so going through some scientific papers, and they are emerging now. This is the evidence that is emerging. So we knew then that there was no clinical evidence for saying that those who received the vaccine were less likely to transmit.
Mm-hmm.
But with that data's rolling in now, and it's making a fucking nonsense of Ruse and his shrieking anti-vax clown mates.
Yep.
The effectiveness of any vaccine in terms of reducing transmission can only be determined over time. It might take 5 years in order to get a perfect data set. Everyone should know this. And if you don't know this, ask. Could we wait for 5 years?
Yeah.
Could we wait for 5 years?
No.
Let's just wait for 5 years and see what happens. There was actually one of the reports that I looked at was a peer-reviewed mathematical modelling on how many lives were saved by COVID vaccines, and they put the number at 14 million. 14 million lives saved between January 2021 and December 2021.
That's insane.
14 million. And that was a very conservative estimate. Their other modelling showed it to be around about 19 million.
Wow. That's a lot.
So through 2021, in any country you could name, COVID-related deaths for unvaccinated people per 100,000, which is the only model you can really use rather than looking at, this is the best way to do it on a pro rata basis.
Yeah.
COVID-related deaths for unvaccinated people per 100,000 occurred at roughly 10 times the rate as it did for those who are unvaccinated.
Yeah.
Data from the US Centre for Disease Control and Prevention show that during the first week of December 2021, when the Omicron variant began taking hold in the United States, unvaccinated people were dying at a rate of 9 per 100,000.
Yeah.
Fully vaccinated people were dying at a rate of 0.4 per 100,000 people. So that's almost 20 times.
Yeah.
Meaning unvaccinated were 20 times more likely to die of the virus in that period. These figures were supported by data from the US state health authorities from California to Mississippi. We're not cherry picking. We're actually looking at total data sets, and we're using state data sets to support them.
Yeah, it's just the data. This is just the way the data is. And you can argue all you like, but it's just hard data. It just is what it is. And more recently, there's been a decline in the gap between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated due to this sort of statistical shift. Because, the Omicron variants have arrived, and these variants are more infectious, they're more transmissible. And in that situation, they are more lethal numerically, especially to the elderly and those who have these sort of pre-existing health conditions. Yeah. Of course, anti-vaxxers are they deserve to die. Fuck them. And these people are, of course, for the most part, vaccinated. And this is a big anti-vax trope. Oh, but you're vaccinated and you died. But there are extenuating circumstances on this. And look, this goes without saying. There are fewer unvaccinated people than there were 12 months ago.
That's right.
People keep getting vaccinated. It's just
there
kind
are
of the
people
way it
getting
works.
vaccinated, and those who are unvaccinated, because of the rates of death, there are less of them because of that.
Yes.
There are fewer unvaccinated people in the
Shrinking
community
pool.
in Australia and around the world because a lot of them are dead.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, Joel, unlike anti-vaxxers, let us be honest, the political rhetoric around vaccination rollouts, both here and overseas, did gild the transmission lily. Get the shot and save grandma was one of the many tropes we could use as a summary of the political urging. I think Dictator Dan might have used that.
Probably.
And certainly the POTUS did on April 21, 2021.
Save me.
President Joe Biden said the second reason to get vaccinated is to protect your community, your family, your friends, and your neighbours. Vaccines can save your own life, but they can also save your grandmother's life. A lot of grandmothers being saved at the time. Your co-worker's life, the grocery store clerk, or the delivery person helping you and your neighbours get through the crisis.
That's nice.
The first reason he did say was it would protect you.
Yeah.
Protect you as an individual. The second reason
Americans like that.
was leading into this idea of transmissibility, and it was in stark contrast to the FDA caution that they issued in January of that year, saying that there is no data, there is no clinical evidence that supports a reduction in transmissibility among those who are vaccinated.
Yeah. So, look, the argument that Big Pharma colluded with governments to suppress the truth about the vaccine efficacy was nonsense then, because, I mean, there's not even that much money in it, and even more absurd now. Like, a few people got rich, but it's not a conspiracy. Look at the numbers. It doesn't add up at all. Vaccines, as a general thing, don't make money because you get them once and you're done. Boner pills, great money. Anti-balding, fuck yeah. And anything you take daily is a gold mine. Anything you take once, fucking useless, especially if it's less than $1,000 a shot. But this sort of revisionism collapses because there are data showing now that it confirms that it was a perfectly sound assumption in the first place, that those who are unvaccinated for COVID-19 will be more infectious and infectious for longer. It's a fucking no-brainer.
Yeah, the first piece of real evidence came from Israel in a peer-reviewed study published in July 2021. The study entitled Vaccination with BNT162b2, which is the Pfizer vaccine, found a reduction of transmission of SARS-CoV-2 to household contacts among the vaccinated in Israel between June and July 2021. It was the very first piece of data that said, yes, it reduces transmission.
Yep. And the study showed that people who were vaccinated and subsequently infected were less infectious than unvaccinated persons. And moreover, less transmission occurred within households with vaccinated members than in those with unvaccinated individuals. However, the ability of the vaccine to prevent transmission waned with time and with the advent of the Delta variant. That's a quote from the study.
Yeah, that's a quote. And we might recall that the study because Israel had one of the highest rates of vaccination in the world at the time.
Yeah, they went crazy.
Israelis adopted the Pfizer vaccine exclusively.
Yeah.
The data pointed to a diminishing efficacy of the vaccine over time and with new variants emerging. They got belted with the Delta variant. And this led to the rollout of booster shots, which remain the best way of protecting the elderly and those with pre-existing health conditions to this day.
Yeah, that's it. No vaccine is perfect or permanent, but these sort of things, they work. Yeah. It's really simple. It's almost like it's the fucking obvious.
There's another study.
Oxford Academic Open Forum on Infectious Diseases. 3 infectious disease doctors, 2 from the US and 1 from Scotland, examined 3 randomized trials and found that receipt of the vaccine was associated with a 70% reduction in all SARS-CoV-2 infections 21 days after the first dose and 85% reduction 7 days after the second dose. So the second dose was handy. A similar cohort study of 3,975 healthcare workers, first responders, and other frontline workers who had been constantly exposed to the fucking virus in the US, who were tested weekly, found a 91% reduction in infection risk after full vaccination by an mRNA vaccine and an 81% reduction after just simple partial vaccination.
And partial, that's a single shot. So
like a one shot,
So
one shot
not
of
the Johnson
one of the
& Johnson
shots,
one. It's just the first shot of an mRNA.
The mRNA one, yeah.
And while vaccine mandates may have been excessively applied across a range of industries, I never quite understood why they were imposed on footballers, for example, or construction workers. I never
they hug
quite
each other.
understood that. That analysis provides hard evidence as to why vaccine mandates continue to be necessary for frontline health workers,
Yes.
emergency response workers, and even more obviously for those working in aged care. And
Yeah.
this is their whine. This is the shocking revelation that basically because many countries impose vaccine passports, vaccine mandates across various industries, that this was all a great lie to rope them in, and there was no actual transmission. But that data there, Joel, 91% reduction among frontline healthcare workers, first responders, and other frontline workers in the United States, coppers, ambos, etc. 91% reduction after full vaccination.
Yeah.
That tells you why mandates in those particular industries were absolutely essential. Otherwise, you have
especially
clowns like, what's his name, Lartha, that ambulance officer.
Yeah.
Lartha, treating people at the scene with injuries or illness and giving them COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no way he wouldn't have been. I mean, was he going to rat test? Was he going to do anything like that? Maybe he was asymptomatic and he didn't feel the need. So there you've got unvaccinated people working in healthcare, working in aged care. It's just a no-brainer.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's really no. I mean, I remember this is the Adelaide Crows footballer. A she, not a he, in the waffle. They or the AFLW it is.
Yes.
She was an intensive care nurse.
Yeah.
And she was going, why can't I have my job? I love my job.
Yeah.
Well, if you love your job, go and get vaccinated.
Yeah, you fucking
But
psycho.
she refused to get vaccinated and wondered why she wasn't allowed to go into an intensive care unit.
Bizarre. Just bizarre.
Anyway, now we might think that much of the transmissibility of COVID-19 from unvaccinated individuals leads to an increase of transmission because of what we might call the scofflaw effect. Antivaxxers did not just refuse the vaccine. We can safely assume that many also did not undertake PCR or RAT testing or RAT testing and did not isolate when symptomatic.
I believe this strongly.
They went on their way spreading infection, right?
Yeah.
So, and we know this behaviour, and you could say, all right, well, that's just a behaviour, right? That's a behaviour that that's outside the clinical stuff, right? That's just a behaviour, and you may well be right, but even in the absence of these behaviours, COVID-19 was more transmissible by unvaccinated individuals, not wandering around infecting other people. They were banged up in jail.
Ooh, yeah.
That's this one really caught my eye.
Captive audience. So here's a peer-reviewed study led by Lauren Brinkley Rubenstein, an associate professor in social medicine at the University of North Carolina. She examined more than 4,000 inmates and staff in the Rhode Island prison system and found that, quote, SARS-CoV-2 breakthrough infections were identified only rarely after vaccination in a carceral setting in Rhode Island, carceral being incarceration.
Yes.
Thus, vaccination of staff members and incarcerated persons appeared to be effective in preventing the transmission of SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah, and there was a lot more data to it than that. But basically, here
Great
is,
place to get to a test.
You've got a captive audience, basically, with the exception of staff. But this was essentially tilting. The study was essentially tilting at why staff needed to get vaccinated.
Yeah,
right? But also inmates too, and we've seen that. We've seen that in Australia, and we've seen that elsewhere. That COVID would just sweep through prisons.
Yeah, that's it.
And particularly in its early days without vaccination.
Nightmare. Yeah,
and so when vaccines were introduced to the Rhode Island prison system, and there were, I think from memory, 4,300 odd inmates and staff. Once they introduced vaccines, they just didn't have any outbreaks.
Yeah.
And there'll be more data rolling out, and we will learn more from it. We're just starting to see, because it's science. It takes a while.
Yeah.
It takes a while
and
to
the standards are high.
Pull the data together and look at it, examine it, analyse it, and then report on it. There'll be more data rolling out, and we will learn more from it as we go. But what we have now overwhelmingly shows that unvaccinated individuals are more infectious and for longer. So vaccines did reduce transmissibility.
Yep. Pretty simple. Yeah. It really is fucking ridiculous.
And so what makes me wonder is why all this revisionism is occurring.
Well,
I mean, you know, it's as I say, it's way too in the recent past to pull the wool over most of our eyes. But there are those around who simply think, well, we can get some political benefit.
Yeah.
We can get more people watching our shows.
Yep.
We can get more people listening to our podcasts.
Yep.
We can do all of that if we embrace this shocking revelation, which turns out not only not to be true, but is provably false in the long run.
Yeah, that's it. You know, Adam Creighton, man, just pivoting hard, going straight for anti-vax
It really is
money.
disturbing because, it just completely ignores the emerging data, the emerging science. The people who've taken the trouble to look at these things. And you just go, oh, yeah. They think they can fucking bluff and bullshit us with this stuff. Oh, you know what happened last year? I go, yeah, I remember last year. I was fucking here too.
Yeah. And, like, that's the thing, man. Like, when it comes to a lot of these guys who are playing this sort of card, you're like, okay, are you a sociopath or are you a liar? Like, what is your deal? Because you see these people effortlessly doing this. Recently, there was a news.com.au survey that got gained by anti-vaxxers, and it was all over Telegram, and some usual suspects, I think alternative media watchers were in there.
I know.
There were some people in there who tweeted these people. They definitely saw the tweet saying, basically, mate, your poll's being gamed. Here are the receipts. Here are the screenshots.
That was news.com.au.
It was news.com.au.
I don't know if they organised the poll, but they certainly reported on it.
No, they did. They organised the poll, and as the poll was happening, people on Twitter, and you can find them fairly easily, but I can't remember who they were, so sorry, guys. Basically, they were saying, they pointed out to the news.com.au editor that on Twitter, quite clearly, dude, this is being gamed, and they didn't care. It was published. Adam Creighton was retweeting it, going, "Oh, look at this."
No, he said it was interesting.
Yeah, he's a fucking idiot. And it's like it's one of those things.
It is part of this revisionism. It is part of this revisionism. I mean, we've come out of a pandemic. It was actually pretty bloody tough for a whole lot of people.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And I get why anti-vaxxers want to get into the revisionism business, because as it stands and continues to stand, what they did, they were asked to roll their sleeves up and take a jab to protect themselves, to protect the community, to protect their family, and to protect their friends. But they chose not to. They chose to basically subjugate themselves to an irrational fear. And that is the definition of moral cowardice.
Yeah, it fucking is. And they tried to pass it off as being something. So now
no one wants to be known as a coward. So now it's kind of like, hey, what about this new information that turns out not to be a revelation?
You all
turns
owe me
out
an
not
apology.
to be all that shocking.
Fucking idiots.
It is just a simple statement of science and how that vaccine was rolled out, because it could never have measured transmissibility in the short period of time that it had to develop it.
Exactly. It's fucking just, it is ridiculous and stupid.
And the pandemic was tough, you know. I mean, panic, government overreach. I mean, you know, we look back on it now, and we look back on border closures. Look back on the fact that Australia was closed for almost 2 years. I mean, that's bizarre and wrong, right? Yeah. That should never have happened.
People couldn't see their families.
And it's fucked our economy going forward, because we've got no immigration, we've got no people to work in jobs, and we've got low rates of unemployment because and employers screaming for labour.
Yep,
right?
100%.
And that essentially drove all of that, but almost killed an entire industry, which is one of our third biggest export earners, and that is education.
Yeah,
you know, and particularly tertiary education, almost killed that. So there was really, you know, there was a lot of government overreach, and I'm not going to be blind to it, right? So border closures, they were unnecessary. They provably unnecessary. Why Queensland would close its borders and Victoria would close its borders, and then they'd say, well, we're not going to lift this lockdown until we get zero community transmissions. That was just ridiculous.
Well, look, I'm not completely convinced it was ridiculous at the time because it worked, but it was at a high cost.
But we went through all of this. The bottom line is that we went because most of us understood the only way out was a high vaccine uptake. The only way that this would all stop was a high vaccine uptake. And we got there. We did it. We got to that sort of 90 plus, which is outstanding, really outstanding. And the rest is history. And it's too clear in the collective memory to start rewriting it. That's what I won't let them get away with.
Yeah, 100%. It's bullshit, and this is desperate, and it's sad. It's working, which is annoying, because it's being backed up by fucking opportunists and pieces of shit. But smart people won't buy it. You just can't buy this. There's no logic to it.
Every time I see it. I'm going to call it out every time I see it.
Good. Fuck them.
And look, we're just going to wrap up the show there. And we want to thank you, our beloved patrons, once again. We hope we're giving you the sorts of content that you want to hear. We look forward to hearing from you if it is so, or indeed if it is not. And
let us know if anyone's actually listening to this. That'd be great.
God, yeah, sometimes I do get that feeling. Just
Talking
shouting
into
at the
void.
But no, we thank you very much for your ongoing support. And yes, we will be doing some true crime. I know I've been a bit slack, and we'll be getting to it. We want to continue to offer you exclusive content. And we love your work, and tell your friends.
Yeah, tell your friends. We're not going to do the whole begging thing this time because you're already paying us.
Oh,
thanks, guys.
Yeah, we've already begged you.
We have, and it
Good
worked.
on you guys.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards!